Adding thread. All right, so before we do add our thread, we need to finish off what we already have on our needles. So I have about 5 inches left, but I feel like it's getting a little bit more difficult to work with this little bit of thread. So I am going to basically weave it in and tuck it in. Now, one thing that's really important before we start to tuck in our thread is that you need to remember where your thread came out of. So beginning, ending, right here at this point, you can kind of like look at your design and can see there's a little bit of a triangle here. So at the bottom of my triangle, that's where I need to start once I add thread. Okay, so we're gonna first tuck in our thread. So we're not going to go forward, which this would be forward if we were adding beads, but we're going to go backwards and tuck our thread in backwards without a bead. And we're going to weave it up a little bit, going back and forth between the beads, pulling tight. And we are going to maybe take a little stop right here to tie a small knot. So how do you tie a knot? Well, it takes a little bit of work, but you have to just dig your needle in and grab one of those threads that's in between the beads. So it's taken me a second, but I've grabbed a thread and you can maybe see it here. I've grabbed a tiny bit of thread. You can see there. So I'm going to run my needle through it, not all the way through. A loop is going to form like that, and I'm going to put my needle through that loop and pull really tight. And then once I've done that, I am going to continue weaving my thread in. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to come back down. So I'm out through this bead right here. And I'm just going to go beside that bead down through this gold one here. So I'm doing a little bit of a circle here, coming back up, and you can kind of choose wherever you want to weave it through. There's no formula or set way to do this. I'm just trying to do my best to weave my thread in so it doesn't poke back out anywhere. And usually doing that in circles instead of just going straight across is the best way to go. So I'm almost to my edge here. So I'm going to go out the edge, pull tight, really put some tension on my thread, grab my scissors and snip. And you can still see a little bit, so I just like to run my nail through it. But the rest of that thread is gone. Adding thread. Take your fire line and cut, again, the length of your arm. So I'm just off camera, I'm just cutting a little snip off. And I am going to now thread my needle. So same as before, if you need help going or threading your needle, just go back to the threading needle module. Should be fairly easy for you now, but stay patient with it, you'll get it. Okay, so I've threaded my needle. So remember, we ended here, so we need to begin here. But I'm not just going to begin there right away. I want to make sure that my thread is really anchored on. So I'm going to do almost the same thing that I did before with ending the thread. Okay, so I'm going to go in. Takes a little while to get it. Grab a little piece of thread, got it. So it's just a tiny bit of thread. I'm going to push my needle through, and not all the way through, but I'm going to bring a lot of it through. Okay, so here we have about 1 inch of thread left on the tail, but we want quite a bit more because we're going to tuck that thread in. So leave about 5 inches of thread and make a knot. So let me just show that to you again. All I did was all I'm doing here is tying one over the other and pulling tight. Okay, so now that I've done that, I can actually do it one more time just for security. So one over the other and a simple knot, pull very tight, and then grab your needle again. So we're going to hide it again just the same way we did before. So we're going to go down towards where we want to begin. This is the area that we ended our last thread, so we want to go back down that way. So I'm going to pass my needle down through this bead here, pull the thread. It's going to look a little bit messy, but soon you'll see what's going on here. And you're just going to pull that nice and tight. And then you're going to keep going. Pull tight. Keep going down towards the area, towards the bead where you started. Oops, thread got caught in there. Okay. Pull tight. And now we are ready to add more beads. But you might be saying, okay, well, I have this tail just hanging out in the middle of my beadwork here. So you can either do this at the end or right now. We're going to do it right now because I don't want it to get in the way of all my other work. So I do recommend that you tuck this in right now so you don't have to mess with it later. So that 5 inches or so that you have hanging out, thread your needle with that. And then you're just going to weave that in through the beads. So this one is coming out from in between those two beads. So I'm just going to weave it up and weave it up. There's no set direction or way to weave this. Now I'm going to go to the side here because I feel like weaving it in a bit of a circle is good. Then I'm going to kind of go back up and just weave to where you feel like it's good. You know, I feel like this is getting good. I'm just going to go up to the edge so then I can clip the rest of my thread. So I'm going to go up through here. Again, grab your needles, pull that thread nice and tight, and clip. And now you've added thread to your beadwork and you can continue your work. All right, so that was probably the hardest or second hardest part of this entire process. So I hope you're still with me and I hope you're having fun. If you're feeling a little frustrated at this point, don't worry, take a break. Remember, we're just learning how to walk. This is totally brand new and it's okay to have some compassion and patience with yourself. And the whole point is to have fun, so why get frustrated? All right, so in the next lesson, we are going to be covering paper-based design. However, if you're ready to finish your ring, your intuitive design ring, just jump on over to the lesson after that where we will be sizing and finishing off our rings. But if you want to then try paper-based design, go for it. Doing both is wonderful. So I'll see you in the next lesson.